Oh my God, I thought she was about to say.
Girl, you lying.
So I went to Fox News.
I'm liable to say a lot of different things.
We got a president who has been flued out by the Qataris.
He's the mayor of the largest city.
Don't touch him. Have you heard from the Department of Justice on this case and what the next steps are?
I'm sounding the alarm. Because if you're sitting on the sideline saying, hey, this ain't my problem, I'm minding my black business, where do you think they're going next?
They want me to bend the knee. They'll be waiting until they're blue in the face.
You don't own the Constitution.
There's not a single policy area in this country that doesn't touch a black body.
We can sit around and watch what's going on, or we can use our platform.
If you're waiting for some imaginary line for this fight to come to your door, that line has been crossed.
These people have dropped us right into an episode of America's Most Wanted.
This is not a battle that can be won without allies. And allies are made. They are not born.
This is a public service announcement to black people throughout the land.
Well, that's a whole new word, ho.
Go on with it, host.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media.
Welcome.
Welcome home, y'all. This is episode 79 of Native Land Pod, where we give it to you straight, no chaser. I am here as your host and with my fellow co-host. I'm Tiffany Cross, here with Angela Rye, who's running late, but she will join us shortly, and Andrew Gillum.
And I'm not running late.
You're not running late, Andrew. How you feeling?
I'm good, friend. Good to see you.
You too.
What they serving at Denny's this
Very
morning?
funny. So Andrew is trying to say it looks like I'm in a Denny's background, but I'm actually in a DJ booth in a pretty cool location, by the way. But before we even get too deep into that, what are we talking about today?
Oh, friend.
I know. Okay, so basically, Andrew is saying that because what we're going to get into today, and y'all brace yourselves because we've been here before, is government retaliation. So we're going to be talking about government corruption, which Andrew, you know about government retaliation. I think they're acting corrupt as they're going after people. I'm really excited that
I think it's both.
Yeah, exactly. Really excited that we have Mayor Ras Baraka, who is also running for governor of New Jersey. So when Angela gets here, she'll tell us more about securing him as a guest. But you guys perhaps saw this week that he had a tussle. He was arrested essentially by ICE agents.
Yeah, he was handled.
Right. Targeted.
No tussle.
Targeted is probably a more with more intention to say that happened to him, which is awful. So I don't know. It's just making me really uncomfortable, Andrew, to be honest with you, because it feels like people are waiting for some imaginary line for this government to cross, and that line has been crossed already. And I wonder, do people have to show up to your house and drag you out for you to say, oh, shit, this is a serious problem?
You're close to it, Tiffany. You're close to, I think, what has to happen, which is it's one thing to see it on television. It's one thing to see a doctoral student who simply co-signed not even physically signed, just basically said what they said to the student senate, the elected student representation, who passes a resolution. And she says, that's good. And what do? They ghost her right off the streets.
Yeah.
And so it's one thing to watch it. It's a whole nother thing entirely to experience it. And I don't think folks are I don't think it will hit them over the head like it's hit us over the head until you are in close proximity to the government taking similar actions against you or somebody you care about.
Yeah.
I'm convinced of it. Otherwise, we would have all been abhorred by what we've seen.
Yeah.
All of us would have taken to the streets based off of what we saw happen, in Massachusetts over at Tufts.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't. We didn't because it wasn't us. It makes me fearful for all of us, but it also makes me mostly concerned for everyday people, regular Americans who are not noticing what is exceptional about this moment. And I don't use the term exceptional as a positive.
Yeah.
Exceptionally bad is what we're experiencing.
You know, I'm curious because we'll talk about this more when the mayor joins us, but the very issue why he was even there to protest is that there was this private prison there that is not regulated. And he was there to investigate. As the mayor of his city, he was there to investigate, to look into it. In this private prison where they are housing undocumented migrants. And so,
right. And I actually think he was looking into the fact that it is not, I don't believe it has achieved the necessary licensing.
mm-hmm.
Now, we can ask him, of course. My guess is that over any building that goes up in Newark, that the mayor and council and their staff have a say over whether you're meeting code. Did you meet fire code? Did you meet building inspections and other codes? Now, I could be wrong because I haven't gained this from him directly, but we can, of course, ask today. But if the mayor's job is to ensure that every building that stands in his community is safe to occupy for business, then it seems to me he would have been well within his right, he or his code enforcement officials, well within their right to not only be at the premises, but in the premises to ensure that they are complying with local, state, and federal law. But very specifically local.
Right. And as a former mayor yourself, you know all too well the responsibility he has. But I also, if we're at the point in this country where we're arresting mayors, you know, I just, judges. Where do we go from here? And I think what the point I was trying to get to earlier is the idea that there are way too many of us in our community, in the Black community, who say, well, that's who they voted for. So, you know, I'm minding my Black business. That ain't it. Mm-mm. Like, that is not
it ain't it.
Number one, I think we have to have a little more intellectual curiosity about the voter data. Too often we are spoon-fed a narrative by lazy-ass reporters from mainstream media who have not disaggregated this data. When you look at the different communities, particularly in the Latino community, there is no community of color who voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. Every community of color voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. In the Latino community, when you disaggregate, because again, the white man came along and said, all of y'all qualify as Hispanics. We're putting all of you all in that category.
True.
But in truth, these are people from different countries of origin, different backgrounds. It's like if they said all of y'all, you know, Black folks are the same. And you have somebody from, Tallahassee. You got somebody from the dirty South, somebody from
Haiti,
the deep South.
From Jamaica.
You got somebody from Jamaica and somebody from Kenya. You got, the Black Brits, a Black Parisian. And all of us are supposed to represent one. And I think we have to have, we just have to look at this a bit differently. And so, yes, the Trump administration was able to make inroads among Latino men where he was able to peel off a significant portion of Latino men to vote for him. Once we acknowledge that, then we have to look at the rampant disinformation campaigns that were running in Spanish language to that community. We also have to acknowledge the anti-Black sentiment that exists in all communities, even Black communities sometimes, okay? But
no doubt.
But Black,
no doubt.
but communities everywhere. So yes, I hear the outrage. I understand it all. But I just want to say, when you look at who, and then people's understanding of socialism, you know, if you have fled a socialist country, you don't necessarily understand the nuanced difference when American politicians are saying things about socialism. But even when it's like somebody saying, you know, if something happened to a Black man, it's like, well, he didn't vote for Kamala. And it's like, no, that was the narrative that the mainstream media was trying to feed y'all. But we knew that ain't it. Black men are overwhelmingly voting for Kamala Harris. But again, he was able to make certain inroads with a small sect of Black men, a larger sect of Latino men. My point in saying all this is I'm sounding the alarm, because if you're sitting on the sidelines saying, hey, this ain't my problem, I'm minding my Black business, where do you think they're going next? Do you think they're going to stop?
They're here.
Right. That's a good point. I'm saying going, and you're right. You're correcting me saying they are here. If they are disappearing people who don't look like us, do you think they're going to stop at us? Like, this, quite frankly, is our collective fight.
And they've been disappearing us.
Right. We have seen this before. This is not new.
We know this story.
This whole thing that we've never seen this before, we've seen this before. Like, we know what happens.
You're so right. And I guess for me, I don't care about the data and who voted for whom in this regard. He was elected, okay? Mm-hmm. But just because you get elected, you don't own the Constitution.
Yeah.
The Constitution is a predecessor to you by centuries. Not as many as a lot of Americans like to walk around here thinking we are, but by centuries, the Constitution predates you and has been attempted to have been made more perfect along the way. It will, hopefully, if we do our job, as the framers said, a republic, if you can keep it, well, part of keeping it is making sure this man doesn't run away with the Constitution, flanking himself in it, as if that means he can't be a complete destroyer of it. And that's what we're seeing right now. So yes, they elected him, sure. But guess what? There are some fabled and some stayed documents that actually outlast who the individual occupant is of the office. And based off that by itself, no, you don't get to run roughshod over my rights. My rights were here before you, those that I had. And I hope to gain more in the future. But right now, what you're not going to do is you're not about to rip them away from me and watch me acting like a bystander as if I don't have a say in the thing.
Right.
We do have a say, and it requires us standing up. The framers were smart to say, if you can keep it, because it puts the responsibility back on us as voters, as citizens, forget voters, as citizens. To hold them to account. It's a higher calling.
We can't keep it. I mean, that's the conclusion I'm drawing. We cannot keep it. That doesn't mean that we don't fight, but we can't keep it. But I'm curious your thoughts, Andrew, when it comes to this attitude of people, like just shoulder shrug. Well, the Palestinians had, their protest vote in Michigan, so I'm not going to get in that fight. And Latinos voted for Trump. I'm not going to get in that fight when the data just doesn't support any of that. But I do understand the frustration. But to me, it feels like the white man sitting back laughing at all of this while we're infighting. We're barely 14% of the population. This is not a battle that can be won without allies. And allies are made. They are not born. So I do think this is a collective fight, not as some self-sacrificial lambs in service to a country that harms us, but in self-serving people who understand I cannot battle this Goliath of a corrupt United States government that has already fallen to a dictator. I cannot battle it and survive it by myself. What do we say to people to convey that message? Because every time we post something, a lot of the comments on NLP, on our socials, on YouTube, a lot of it is like, well, that ain't my fight. And it's really disheartening because it's like, it is your fight. You just don't know it yet. Anyone who draws that conclusion is a ghost walking. You're not living in this real lived, life that you and I are experiencing right now. Because if I know Black folk better than nearly any people, they understand that when the worst is done to a group unlike us, that whatever is coming our way is going to be multiples worse. We used to grow up with the saying, if America catches a cold, Black people catch, the flu. Now we can say COVID. Yeah. Right. But in truth, I don't know that we have the shorthand language to describe how overwhelmingly negatively impacted we are when the country turns fascist, when the nation turns more racist, when the nation headed by Donald Trump turns against white people and us. Yeah. Just know that whatever is about to be served up to us is going to be multiples worse of what everyone else is getting. And the reason why I included, a white majority in that example, Tiffany, is because the white majority is experiencing the ebbs and flow of Trump's tariff crayon battle, whatever he thinks his Barbies. Maybe this year your kid, instead of getting many Barbies, they get two. Now he about to take a $400 million plane, but for free, as the sitting president, be damned emoluments. Yeah, emoluments clause. But in this case, I'm like, I got a bunch of things running through my head. If I said it, you would have clowned me. But I'm going to be mature. No, I got there. With a little help. But it is in direct violation. Can you just take a quick second and explain the emoluments clause? I can do it if you want to, but I just want them to know. What Tiffany just said, that word right there, emoluments, is at the very beginning, our Constitution calling out the fact that you cannot take gifts from a foreign power. In fact, presidents should not take gifts
period. Neither should Supreme Court justices,
Right.
if I were being completely honest. But the folks in Saudi, the Far East and the Middle East, what they know well is they know Donald Trump's
Yes.
language well.
Yes.
And that language is a language of uplift, of
Flattery.
of complimenting, of better word, the flattery, the gifts, the exertions that you make that remind them of their station, or at least the perception of their
We
station.
got a president
That's
who
what-
has been
that's what we do.
flued out, basically, by the Qataris. And the fact of the matter is,
oh,
Pam Bondi,
jeez. Oh,
who is this
hallelujah.
country's U.S. Attorney General, has advised him that legally he can accept this because they're trying to do it under the guise of it's a donation to the Department of Defense. I don't believe for one second, if this president should ever voluntarily leave office, I don't believe for one second that he's going to leave this plush ass plane behind. We should also point out that Pam Bondi, before taking this role, previously lobbied for the country of
Qatari
Qatar.
government.
Right. Exactly. So
And she's also the person you gave her a promotion, the U.S. Attorney General. She is clearly the personal attorney for Donald
Yes.
Trump, guised
yes.
in the description of Attorney General. But the Attorney General is America's attorney.
Yeah.
But all she seems to do is cape for him.
It's frightening. And this is what I mean, Andrew, because all of these things are kind of over a lot of people's heads. You know, like I'm not waking up panicked because Donald Trump took a plane from Qatar. I'm not, in a panic because he seems to be personally profiting off of his Middle East trip. All of those things seem like distant problems. And I think that people will start paying attention when this problem knocks on your front door. What they don't
Agreed.
understand is that problem is here like knock, knock,
Yeah.
knock. Right now,
Yeah.
that problem is knocking at your front door when they talk about cuts
Tiff.
to Medicaid, all of it. You have been
That's
impacted by it. I am bracing myself to be impacted by it. They're looking at SNAP benefits. I think about the people in my family who get SNAP. I mean, they're real tangible things. The cuts to NIH, people will die if they haven't already. Somebody should
There's no
be. I
doubt.
hope a journalist projects and one of these J schools need to keep a running tab on how many deaths this president, you can start with COVID, you can start from 2016, how many deaths this president is responsible for at this point.
Yeah.
I'm too scared.
Yeah. Tiff, you said something, and I didn't want to let that thread go, which was people don't understand, when they see the $400 million jet going.
Yeah.
I would beg to offer that people do know grift when they see it. They see him grifting. The problem is that people's opinions of what politicians are and what they do has been reshaped. And frankly, reshaped in many ways by Donald Trump. But I won't put that solely at his feet because there have been corrupt people before. But they see him acting corruptly. They see him as a felon in the White House. And so things that run up against law, become gray. Used to be black and white. Now, by the way, if it were me, it's going to be black or white. If it were you, it's going to be black or white. But he gets the grace of gray, right? So they suspend with it. So I think our job becomes not letting it go. I think we still have to, sound the trumpet on those things. But I think you're right to go in the direction of how we make the consequences plain for what you're going to experience in your everyday life. Now, you don't need me to tell you at home that you can't do without Medicare.
Right.
You don't need me at home to tell you that. And maybe you've got personal health insurance and your kids. But think about your parents, your brothers and sisters in them,
Your
the folks that you
grandparents.
care about who may rely on these systems to get by. What are they doing? No, they're not taking it away. What they're doing is they're changing the criteria.
Yep.
And by changing that criteria, when you go in this next time and you're like, I was eligible last time. Oh, no. There's an update. There's a Part Z to the plan. And Part Z says, if you have a job and you make minimum wage, you don't qualify. Regardless how much you earn from week to week, month to month, year to year.
And not just Medicaid. This is, like I said, SNAP benefits, like all of it.
Absolutely.
I do just want to say a quick little announcement that Angela is in the building. So she's going to be joining us shortly. She's caught up in New York traffic. As you guys know, the State of the People tour is happening. And
all across the country.
Yes. And so she got to be in New Jersey this week with the mayor, Ras Baraka, who'll be joining us shortly. So she got caught up in a little bit of New York State. Right on cue, right? She must have heard me say her name.
There she go rapping.
Yes.
She ain't got no earphones. She can hear us.
But the lovely audience can see that she is at least here. Literally, I was just saying, Angela is in the building.
She spoke you into existence, sis.
Hi, guys. I'm so sorry.
I know. I was just on the viewers.
Hey,
you were in
traffic. We're in it.
We in it. I was just saying that the State of the People tour is going. You're in New Jersey, or you were in New Jersey this week with the mayor. And so you hit a bit of New York City traffic. Just to catch you up, we were just talking about surprise, government corruption. Yes. And we got a little bit into Donald Trump accepting the plane from the government of Qatar. Qatar, or however people say it, which is ridiculous and a direct violation of the emoluments clause.
Or a monument.
Andrew, I did not shade him, but Andrew was trying to say, he was in violation of the monuments.
All the monuments. Not just one of the monuments clause, but all the monuments
clause. In violation of the monuments clause.
So anyway, you're new to the table.
If there's one thing we can count on, we can count on him to be in violation of every clause that was and wasn't.
Hello.
This man has 88 indictments. Had 88 indictments at the time he was running for president. I don't know how many they shed since then that they decided to get off. But listen here, I just, nothing surprises me anymore. And I think the frustration is, when you tell kids, hey guys, if you just follow the rules and you do the right thing, good things will come to you. And I can't tell you how many people we meet on this tour. How many people are doing the right thing every single day and they don't get a break. But this guy, this bully, again, I don't know about y'all, but I learned about put downs from Miss Lindsay in the second grade, and he can put down and he still comes up, right? It is fascinating and remarkably unfair. And when kids now say it ain't fair, what are we going to tell them except for they're right?
Something I wanted your opinion on.
It depends on who the kids are.
Right.
Because that's the conclusion I draw about this man, is that let none of us make the mistake of believing that we would get the same second, third, fourth, fifth chances. I mean, to the point that you're making, the folks you're encountering on this tour who are putting their shoulder to the wheel every day, day in, day out, on off days, on breaks, if there was such a thing, they're putting it in, and we can't make sense of how it is that we end up at the back of the line every single time. But the people who are skipping the line, who are not taking the test, but having it taken for them, grades put in before you sit for it, and it seems that every advantage seems to fall their way.
Angela
no heat on
didn't get to weigh in because I wanted your opinion on this, Angela. I was saying, you and I talked about it a little bit this week, about all the people who, the very reason that Mayor Ras Baraka was even at this private prison, because it's a place where they are, Andrew gave us great context, but it's a place where they are housing undocumented. According to the government, I don't trust everything they say, but according to them, it's a place where they're housing undocumented immigrants. And I brought up the fact that we hear so many times in comments on our page, and just for me in conversation with people, well, that ain't my problem. I'm minding my Black business. That's who they voted for. I'm minding my Black business.
Yep.
And I have to remind people all the time, undocumented immigrants cannot vote. They did not vote. And then when you look at the data, every community of color voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris, including the Latino community. Donald Trump was able to make inroads and gains among Latino men, but the Latino community as a whole. But even that aside, it's got to be our fight. So I'm just curious on the State of the People tour, when you encounter people, I'm sure you might hear similar things. But what is your message to people who have that attitude?
I'm glad you asked that. I want to give Dr. David Johns a plug here.
He's the babies.
Yes, David Johns is running our Black Papers process. The Black Papers, now I think we have over 28 Black Papers that will be dropped throughout this tour. And just yesterday, our immigration paper was released. So the Black Alliance for Just Immigration spoke on our panel in Newark. I know I said yesterday, but what I meant to say was earlier this week, as Tiffany would have us to say. And so what I think is important is that, there's not a single policy area in this country that doesn't touch a Black body. Folks are like, oh, well, especially some of the folks who were just relentless on social about, well, why are we doing this? We're not immigrants. We were forced here. That is true. But many of us have in our lineage Haitian ancestry, Guyanese ancestry, some type of Caribbean ancestry, Afro-Latino ancestry. Straight from the continent ancestry.
Africa.
Right.
Yes.
Because that's really what that boils down to. Even when we talk about Brazil, which was the largest receiver of enslaved people in the belly of ships. So when we think about the many layers, all the many layers, it impacts us. And even if somehow, remarkably, for 5 generations, you don't have any immigrants, let's say that's the case. You have somebody in your community who you see every day at the grocery store, or who drives the school bus, or who cleans the house, or who is the nanny of somebody's children, or who is a healthcare worker, or who is a construction worker, or who is an everyday citizen just minding their business walking down the block. It touches you. And it is going to change the fabric of many people's neighborhoods in ways that they have no idea, so long as we continue to say, well, this doesn't apply to me. And maybe immigration doesn't apply to you, but these tariffs do. Maybe these tariffs don't apply to you, but how our healthcare does and prescription drugs cost. Like, there's no way that the oppressive regime that we now find ourselves under is not going to touch you in a very real way, especially when we say, well, the safest people that we can count on right now. We know if you're in elected office, you're in a safe place. No, not even on the soil of a private prison right on the outside. Mayor Ras was on the outside, and I know we're going to hear from him, but on the outside of this prison and on city land, and they still found a way to say that he was trespassing. There are people who they are holding in that private prison who are allegedly in violation of their immigration status. They are painting it out. Do you guys remember that show, America's Most Wanted?
I was a producer on that show. Yes, I remember it very well.
Yeah, well, you should remember it. So, Tiff, when they used to hold up the mugshots and the music that comes on.
When y'all used to hold up the mugshot and the music.
I worked for that show. I was a producer for 5 years. Traveled the country with that show.
If you want to remind the listeners.
I just wanted to put it on Tiff. When y'all put them pictures up.
Whatever it is, if you want to tell the story, you can. I'm just saying there was a dramatic effect about it. And these people have dropped us right into an episode of America's Most Wanted. Every time Kristi Noem comes on with her makeup done and a bulletproof vest, child, like that's what they're doing. They're trying to create this dramatic series of America's Most Wanted. And it is at the expense of the child who's not going to get to school the next day because they just stole her mama.
Yeah.
They're abducting humans. That's what's happening right now.
Yes.
And for what?
And shipping them to offshore torture camps. And now because of course, this is kind of the point that I think we're all making. It is not going to stop at migrants. So now the next conversation, but we have to tap into our humanity that we give a shit about them too. We are not big enough in this community, in this country, to fight this fight alone. And inevitably, as we as Black people always know, of course now it's coming to us because now they're in conversations with Rwanda and other countries to ship American citizens who are incarcerated to foreign countries. And who knows? And I'm going to be honest with you all. If I were one of these leaders in Africa, I would be like, yeah, send me all your Black people in prison. Send them all because we're going to build an army. We will train them and build an army.
Now, this is the clip I want cut. This is because, when I tell you right now, I'm going to find every leader of an African nation I can and be like, hey, we have a great idea. I stole Tiff's.
We got a
I want to
proposal.
start an initiative.
We have a plan.
I'm trying to tell you that.
Especially because we might be next at the rate things are going. We'll talk
Hello.
about that next week. So
Hello.
Y'all want
Somebody?
to tune in next week because
you definitely going to want to tune in for this. They
got a
out to
story.
get us, y'all. They out to
for
get
real,
us. We got
for
a story
real.
to tell. We can't
Angela
tell
got
you
me
yet
nervous.
because we need to
can't
talk
tell
to
you.
a lawyer.
Yes.
They didn't see some of it.
But
They did.
no, they
Out
ain't seen
loud.
all of it.
Oh,
'cause
Andrew talking
Angela-
about they tried to come from him once. But they might be coming back.
you're right.
No. I don't believe that once is enough.
No.
They kill you dead.
Yeah, you're
Oh.
right.
You
That
have
was the
Tiff's
point I
kill
was,
you,
that's the
just
point
kill you.
I was
They kill
making
you
last
dead.
week.
Tiff and Andrew are heavy on this death
See,
message.
no, I'm not. It's for me. It is still metaphorical, which is like in every way in which you should be able to exist as a living, breathing human being who draws breath. They want to suffocate that out. What that offers, they want to suffocate it out. I'll never forget last week during our conversation, hearing the term, you want to see a dead man walking. I was, this is what because I was dead inside, was our guest's response to us. Brother Lewis?
Ray? Yeah, Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
It chilled me.
Yeah.
It chilled me. There are a lot of us moving. We are moving through our spaces, not awoke, not wake, not awoken, not woke. And I don't mean it in the satirical way in which we hear Republicans talk about it. I mean moving in and out of space without any awareness of what we're doing, where we are, what's happening in it.
Yeah.
I
I think the point that I'm making about death, I watched the series. Michael Harriot actually showed me a clip, and I thought it was just a clip from the show American Gods that's not on air anymore. But essentially, it's about like if gods were walking the earth among us, like if these Greek gods were everyday people. And they show the scene opens with slaves on a ship. And the slave is praying, the captive, he's praying, please, if you get me out of this situation, I will speak your name, I will pray for you. And then this God appears, a black man in everyday clothes. And he starts telling the men in the slave ship, this is what you're about to go through. And he walks them through, when you get to America, this is what's about to happen to you. He walks them through the plantation, Jim Crow, civil rights, Reconstruction, all of it. So he says, you want to get out of this situation, kill every one of these dead. Drown them all.
Wait a minute, but what was this? I need to watch this. What's this?
American Gods. And Orlando Jones.
That's a TV show?
Yes. It's off air now. And I didn't watch the whole show. I just saw this clip. Orlando Jones plays the God. And so the black man says, but Master, we will die too if we do that. And he leans in real close to him and says, you already dead. And I just thought, oh my God, like that is, his point is make it easier for the next, like take out. And of course, just for legal purposes, we are not advocating any violence or killing of anybody. I want to be really clear. I want to be really clear. We are speaking metaphorically. But what I didn't know that the great historian Michael Harriot later emailed me is this is actually a true story. And there were enslaved from Nigeria who drowned themselves because they would rather die than be in bondage. And they were off the shore of Georgia and they killed the enslaved and drowned them. And they were singing something in unison. And it was something like the water spirit carried us here and the water spirit will set us free. And they killed all the enslavers and drowned themselves. I say that to say, again, not promoting any kind of violence. We don't wish death on anybody. I say that to say that it is time for radical thought. Because if they are going to harm me anyway, then what? If I'm at my rock bottom, then what do I have to lose? But anyway, I don't want to keep talking because Angela, you had a great idea for the guest this week. And first, before we say that, I just want to say I apologize. I've been calling Angela, and I should address her as her proper title, Dr. Rye. Who got an honorary doctorate this week.
To clear the record, I want to thank you so much for the support. This is my second honorary doctorate, but also
thank you.
But
Brush your
also,
shoulders off.
let me tell you something that really gets on my nerves. This is a public service announcement to Black people throughout the land. When you get an honorary doctorate, please don't start calling yourself doctor.
Oh,
There are
come
people
on.
that
Come on.
have
You about to
earned
rob the nation
title.
of his joy.
I want to call
Listen,
some names.
and
You are
even
about
if you
to
got
rob us
even
of
if
our
you
joy.
got the doctorate from the storefront church, right? Like, I respect you, and that's great. But like, please, the people that have earned a doctorate
Yes.
and went to school to do this, like my mother, who is a
I rebuke that.
doctorate
I
of
rebuke
that.
education, she's an
I rebuke
EDD.
it.
Please put some respect on their names. I will maintain
you.
counselor and attorney Angela Rye. I shall not become a doctor, but I will take it here. So
Dr.
from now on,
Rye.
Tiffany
Keep
and
it
Andrew
staffed
should
and
only
black.
address me as doctor.
We are only going to call you doctor.
I got my own honorary doctor.
And
You can call
Tiff,
me
to be
doctor
clear,
too.
I would like for so Andrew's gonna be doctor as well. Mine needs to be doctor though. Okay, it's a difference.
Doctor.
So
The
I'm still
doctor.
not.
Dr. Rye.
I'm not undermining them. It's DOCTA.
T.A. Doctor.
Yeah, doctor.
Okay,
And then
doctor.
Andrew can be
I want you to
Dr.
bring our
Gillum.
I
We
want you
got
to
a
bring our guests
doctor
on and get off this thin
waiting.
ice because I want to disassociate myself from Angela's comments about y'all ain't
Oh,
doctors.
God.
Y'all doctors.
Y'all are not
Angela.
doctor. You guys
Change
have
your
earned an
signature
honorary
in your
degree.
email to Dr. such and such.
All right, everyone. Well, we are thrilled to be joined by Newark's 40th mayor, a good friend of this show's. This is not his first time with Native Land Pod. Our good brother and friend, Mayor Ras Baraka. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good. We're
Welcome,
happy.
Mayor.
Welcome
Glad
home.
to be on.
Absolutely.
Literally,
Welcome home.
welcome.
Yes, we are so happy to have you. We are going to run some sound from the Department of Homeland Security's Assistant Secretary. She handles their press. Her name is Tricia McLaughlin, and she had this to say about the recent incident outside of the Newark ICE facility.
There will likely be more arrests coming. We actually have body camera footage of some of these members of Congress assaulting our ICE enforcement officers, including body slamming a female ICE officer. So we will be showing that to viewers very shortly.
And you say a
The
video
American
of
people should know
members
the
of
facts.
Congress body slamming ICE
That's correct.
officials?
That's correct, sir. It's disgusting.
Girl, you lying.
Well, Andrew, just one moment. The mayor was there. The mayor was there. Mayor Ras Baraka. We have seen footage from multiple angles, and I would love to see hear about when you saw Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman lift somebody up over her head and throw him down to the ground. Do you have that footage? Have you seen that?
No, it doesn't exist.
Okay, I didn't
Right,
think so.
yeah,
All right, Tiff and Andrew.
Yeah, it don't exist because it didn't happen,
Yeah.
y'all.
Right.
Correct.
You know,
Right.
y'all know the first
Right.
thing we would have seen on the news, had
Right.
that been true, would have been whatever that video is. But they just lie so hard, Mayor.
Completely, man. And they're so used to it. They're comfortable in lying, you know?
I'm telling you, brother, you needed this like you needed a hole in your head. You're in the middle of the race to become governor of
Right.
the Democratic nominee for governor of New Jersey. I feel your heart. In some ways, I know your head. I went back and watched one of your latest debate. And
Right.
your race reminds me of the 5-way primary we had down here in 2018. And if that foretells anything, brother, the future is bright. Just do
Yeah.
it slightly differently and bring it all the way home in the general election. I do want to ask you, Mayor, were you taken aback when you were asked during the last debate about whether or not you'll be able to work with federal officials and law enforcement, given that you had been arrested just shortly before the debate while doing your job as the mayor of your city, inspecting this facility? Did that throw you ajar? And is that in any way representative of the way in which you've run this race and the way the media has covered it?
Right. No, I mean, they love to portray us as these kind of thugs, as folks that, you know, cannot work with folks, that we're angry, we're overly radical. And this is the reason why we can't govern and be elected. But my record in Newark is clear, what we've done around public safety, reducing crime and violence by 61%. The city hasn't had this less amount of violence since John F. Kennedy was the president of the United States. I mean, we're doing a great job with community violence intervention workers, working with the police. But that's the way they try to pigeonhole us and, you know, barricade us into their caricatures of what they think we are, you know. So But if you can see the video, it's clear that they let me in the gate, right?
Right.
They let me in the gate. It's like entrapment almost, right?
Yeah.
They let me in the gate, then they arrest me after I leave the gate.
Yeah. The dude
Can
set
we
you
take
up,
a
as
second?
another great mayor would say.
Oh.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you. We saw the footage, and first of all, we're just happy to see that you are safe and released, because so many people are not. So many people are kidnapped and being disappeared by this government, which is really frightening. We talked a bit before you joined us about the fracture in some of the communities. You know, there are some people in the Black community who feel like, well, these, illegal ICE detentions ain't my fight. It's not my problem. And there,
Right.
even pre-Trump, there have been infighting among communities of color fighting for resources, which is something you would certainly confront as governor of New Jersey, given the diversity of that state. I'm curious what you would say to Black constituents who may feel like, I want you to be the governor for me. If you're taking up this fight, how can you be the governor for me? How would you counter that ill-informed sentiment?
Right, but this fight is our fight.
Yeah.
I mean, the attack on due process is our fight. The attack on the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, these are our fights. The 14th Amendment was created post-slavery. This is directly our fight. And the first people that are going to be attacked the minute we allow them to erode the Fourth and Fifth Amendment is us. We have already been attacked. What this does is open the door and leave us more vulnerable than it did already. We have to fight for people who are struggling around the same things we're struggling around. And we have to see our commonality there. And it's up to us as leaders, as writers, as journalists, as folks out in the front, so to explain that to people so they can understand clearly that this fight is our fight.
I got to ask you, given everything that's happened, Mayor, we were in New Orleans at the time on the State of the People tour. And of course, you joined us this week. You're so grateful for your remarks and your courage. But I'm curious to know, given everything that's going on, the fact that now you were arrested, I believe that they are trying to charge you with a misdemeanor of trespassing. Have you heard from the Department of Justice on this case and what the next steps are?
Yes, I have. I mean, we supposed to have a hearing tomorrow. They're trying to turn it into another kind of hearing. They're now saying the charge is too small to have a preliminary hearing. They didn't say that when they were fingerprinting me and taking my pictures, or making me do PTI that morning, going through this, asking me questions. Do I have mental illness? Do I take drugs? All this kind of stuff. So now they're saying that the charge is too small. But we still have to go through the process. And, ultimately, I think they know that they made error here and they want to fix that, but they want us to acquiesce in the process. That's what's taking this thing so long. They know they need to drop the case, but they want me to bend the knee before that happens. And they'll be waiting until they're blue in the face, until the cows come home, as my grandmother would say, if they expect that to happen.
What does that mean, bend the knee?
Well, it means that they want me to, bow to them, to acquiesce, to say that we were wrong, to basically come to them and kind of beg them even. It's ridiculous because I didn't do anything wrong. I violated no laws. The land I was on, even the property I was on anyway, was not even federal property. It's not federal property. So they don't have any charge for federal trespassing. I mean, it's just incorrect.
I want to be clear. Are you saying that someone from the administration came to you and said, if you say these things, if you say that you were wrong, then they would be helpful to you?
Well, they're talking to our lawyers, right? And the lawyers are giving me all kinds of options, and obviously these options have to come from somewhere, right? So they're giving me all kinds of options of what it is that we can do, what's possible, what's plausible. And what's reality. The fact is it would be silly for them to take this all the way through its logical end. It's a misdemeanor, a Class T misdemeanor. First of all, the maximum is 30 days in jail, $400, $500 fine. I don't know any judge that's going to do that or any federal prosecutor that's going to prosecute this case after they see the evidence. The Brady law demands that they give us all the evidence that they have. If they turn over the guard who let me in the door in the first place, the gate in the first place, that ends the fact that I came on a property, that I busted in, that I forced my way in, that I was not invited in because I was invited in.
For clarity, were you inside the gate when they handcuffed you, or were you outside the gate?
I was outside the gate. They told me to leave after going back and forth with me and the Congress people. I left. There's a video of Bonnie Watson Coleman holding my arm. We're walking out very peacefully, very calmly. The agents are around me. We leave the gate. They stay inside so they could go do their tour. But the tour didn't happen because the special agent in charge got a phone call, and that's also on the video. And then they huddle up and leave and come and get me.
Yeah,
It seems like
and
you
I
were
think
targeted.
that's important for. Yeah, it is. If I want people to understand that he was not on the private prison, by the way, the private prison side when this all happened. He was on, that was city land, correct, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I was on the opposite side of the gate.
Right.
Absolutely.
In the city
So I
where you
think
are
that's
mayor.
important. Correct.
Right, exactly. Right.
So you said that they want you to acquiesce. There might be a mayor that is geographically close to where you now are also mayor that we might look to as an example of what not to do. Since Mayor Raz is too classy to do this, I will name him. That is Mayor Eric Adams. So that's who they probably want him to behave like, but he won't do that because this is a mayor of the people. You don't have to say
Eric
anything.
Adams,
Just sit
yeah.
there.
Eric Adams was offered an exit ramp by this administration, and now he has become an acolyte and mouthpiece for this administration after his entire office was arrested. I can't remember all the charges, but I believe it was bribery. He was, involved in making deals with foreign countries, including Turkey. So just our viewers know. But Mr. Mayor, it seems like they were targeting you specifically. Of all the people who were there, it seems like they wanted to arrest you. One, do you feel like you were targeted? Two, if so, why? And how concerned are you? Because you're speaking about, it's clear that the video, we all know facts, but in a society where facts don't matter, I'm just wondering how concerned are you about this court date this week? And by the time the show airs, you will have already been in court.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're concerned. I was concerned about being arrested. I don't know where these people are going to take me, what they're going to do. I don't know who, given the track record of what these people have, they're disappearing people. I don't know what's going to happen, So I am concerned about the outcome of this. I mean, I know we have a very good team of lawyers and, the public is watching. So that helps us, right, to keep it public and have it as a very public event. I think they arrested me because I'm the mayor, right, as mayor of the state's largest city. And it's not about me personally. It's about them flexing their muscles. They want to arrest judges, mayors, so forth and so on to prove a point that, they're strong, that they can do what they want to do. Nobody's going to defy them. And no matter who you are, or what your position or status is, we're coming to get you. So I think they wanted to get the person they thought that was in charge that day. And that happened to be me. Right. And so they came and got me. And the U.S. attorney and I had words back and forth publicly on social media. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but they don't like to be called out. But at the end of the day, this was their opportunity to show me, as as people say, that's what they did. They came out and showed me. They locked me up, cuffed me, and took me into a cell.
Mayor, they did more than show you. They showed all of us, and I think that is in part the intention. That by going after what we as the community believe to be those who are the leadership voices and therefore are beyond you touching them, roughing them up, putting handcuffs on them over public demonstration, we're going to go after the very thing that you think is untouchable. The very person who you call your leader and who is your elected leader, and bring that person to not just heal, but to humiliation is in part their goal, which is really why I wanted to. And I have a question about governor, but I didn't want to skip over because I've been there with them before. That process of submitting yourself through arrest and the dehumanizing lens that goes to in the mind games that it can play with you if you are not steadfast and unmovable in your positionality here. But if for the average person out there, how can you deepen into this this knowing that we all have that if they can do that to Mayor Ras Baraka, who am I? Why should I protest if that can be done to him? Can it be done to me?
Yeah, absolutely can. But the reality is our collective power is greater than our individual power, right? And that we have to be together. And this is a moral moment. I've been saying that, this is a moment, when Jim Crow was happening and people were being denied opportunity to vote and being killed in the South for trying to organize people to vote. When Medgar Evers was shot in his wife's arms, or 4 little girls blown up in a church in Birmingham, people had to speak up. They had to say stuff, right? It was their moral moment, and people from all nationalities, all religions, some of them made comment and did even more than that, and some did nothing, right? And history is going to judge those people. It's the same with now, what happens now. When Irish Americans came here, they went through the same criminalization and dehumanization. Yeah. When Italian Americans came here, they did the same thing, Jewish Americans as well. This is not a new tactic for these kind of despots and authoritarian folks. And when it happens to people of color, it's always a lot worse. So at the end of the day, we could sit around and watch what's going on, or we could use our platform to fight back. And that's what we're supposed to be doing in a collective way.
Mayor, how you feeling about the run for governor? We're what, 3 weeks out from from voting close. Give our listeners a sense of how you're feeling on the ground, and also what they can do at this point as you close in on Election Day.
It's fourth quarter. We got 30 seconds left. It's a tie game, and we got the ball. That's really what it is. Either we gonna score or we not, and it's simply that. The race is so close. It's gonna boil down to who gets their voters out to the polls that day. Whoever's ground game is more complex, efficient, I should say, stronger, money in the ground, having their people out, pulling their voters out. Those are the folks that are going to win. Nobody's going to win with more than 30% of the vote. Somebody's going to win with 24, 25% of the vote. That's about 200,000 people, if that. And so it's going to take a real operation on the street to get people out. And what that means is that we can't afford to stay home. Like our family members, we have to do relational voting. Like everybody in our circle, you call the people you know, you talk to the people you know, and make sure that they vote and their family members vote. I mean, if that's something that's less complicated than going out with a team of people knocking on doors and doing all this stuff, you can sit in your home and call everybody on your phone and make sure they vote and put it together the night before and the day of. Start building that right now. And I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and they always ask me, what can we do? I said, make sure every Alpha in New Jersey votes for Ras Baraka on June 10th, and their wives and their children. That's enough to let everybody else do that as well.
I want to get into a little bit of platform, because so much of this has been a distraction to the race that you're running. Like you anticipated going to stand up for constituents and folks who have been living in Newark and hardly expected to ever be seeing the inside of a detention facility in the middle of a gubernatorial run. And so on platform, one of the things that came up at our State of the People tour stop in Newark was the wealth gap. For Black folks versus white folks in the state of New Jersey. I believe they said white folks were around 600,000 in New Jersey versus like 17,000 for Black families in New Jersey. Yeah. What are your plans, Mr. Mayor, to close the wealth gap in the state?
And that's actually doubled, by the way. So it was about 300,000 during COVID. So it's doubled in a very short period of time. And at the base of that is home ownership. And investment in small businesses, and African-American businesses are usually sole proprietorships in this state, and they get less than 1% of support from state dollars in New Jersey. So Black, brown, and women businesses get very little to no support from the state. I would say we need first a diversity procurement officer to make sure that every department in the state is procuring dollars and businesses from Black and brown and women businesses, specifically Black businesses in these communities that are being underrepresented and left behind. We also have been talking about a public bank that is not a commercial bank, but an investment bank where we put our dollars, and we force CRA dollars to be as well. And we do deliberate and intentional investment in home ownership, capital loans for people to begin to own homes, begin to invest in businesses so they grow, so they can hire more employees, so they can move from one city to multiple cities, to put money in people's pockets and invest in communities that have been left behind, that have barriers in their way because of race and because of class. And that's what we want to do in any immediate sense. And we want to help finance these chambers of commerce, especially that African-American Chamber of Commerce, so they can help these businesses with back office paperwork, so they can bid for contracts, so they can stand on their feet, so their balance sheets are good. All of that is important, teaching them how to bond, so they can compete in a larger way with other businesses. But we have to infuse capital in these communities, because that's what we're missing.
Mayor, one of the things that I read that you're facing, and I know I face the same thing, where some of your opponents or supporters of your opponents would say the Republicans are craving Ras Baraka as the Democratic nominee because they feel like they can beat him. I remember being asked that and saying, oh, my opponents, of course, have no interest in that narrative being pushed, before I answer. But obviously, that is an easy narrative to push when you're the first. When you are attempting to ride against the grain and you're not running for governor to become the first. You're running for governor to be of service to the people you care about.
Right.
But of course, you're breaking some barriers to be successful in the Democratic nominee. What's your best pushback on? Of course, the Republicans want me because I'm weaker.
Well, they think being black is a weakness. I don't. They think being from Newark is a weakness. I don't. I think it gives me the acumen, the skill, the record to be able to solve very difficult and complex problems that they have no idea how to solve. I think because I'm closer to the problem, I'm closer to the solutions. My messaging appeals to everybody up and down the state of New Jersey because everybody is in the same situation. And Democrats have been afraid to talk the way I've been talking, which is why we're punching high above our weight, because the message that we're telling people is that the economy is broken and we can fix it, that it has to be more inclusive and not exclusive, that we can lower your taxes, lower your costs, that we can make the wealthy pay their fair share. Everybody wants to hear that. Yeah. And we can do this by leaning into diversity, equity, inclusion, not running away from it, that we can make the state more democratic by doing. In fact, diversity, equity, and inclusion is going to make our economy stronger, right? And we have to make a relationship between those messages. So we've been talking about the same thing. All of us have been talking about nationally: wages, work, and wealth. I mean, those are the three things that we're pushing in this state and in this country, right? We need better wages. We need increased opportunities for work in our communities, and we need a pathway to wealth here. And all Americans want that. We just have had the greatest obstacles in our way. And if we remove our obstacles, everybody's obstacles get moved. And history has proven that.
Mayor Ras, I'm going to bring Tiff and Andrew into our text. The one thing that we talk about the most historically is the 1972 Gary, Indiana National Black Political Convention. I'm bringing that up with intention because you represent a largely Black space in Newark that is becoming increasingly more Black and brown. But we also know historically that when we do for us, it benefits everybody. So when you reflect on what your dad was building in 1972 in Gary and what you have continued to build as in elected office, but taking that pledge, even though you didn't sign it, you have definitely held true to the tenets of that convention. What do you think are the three areas that we need to be implementing, one in New Jersey, but nationally, if we could as a people? What should we be doing?
Based on what they've said there?
So, so when you think like DC statehood, wages, all of the things that they brought up in 72 in that agenda, what are some of the things that you're like, if we did these three things now, we would be a hell of a lot further than where we are?
I think reparations is clearly one of the top three on that list. I mean, I think that's incredibly important. And all that means is to make sure we remove long historic obstacles out of people's way and give them the opportunity to perform, to give them a chance at bat, whether it's in the form of education or earned income tax credits or opportunities for capital to purchase homes, to destroy that wealth gap, to be able to grow in terms of their business. And I think that's clearly one of the things. I remember, Queen Mother Moore passing out flyers and that thing. We need reparations. We need reparations. That's clear. People have been talking about that for a long time. And I think some form of that has to happen and some discussions around what that looks like. And states are talking about it. And we need to make that a national push. And we need to say what we mean when we say reparations and what we actually want. It's not enough to say reparations in a theoretical sense. We have to say it in a really pragmatic and material way. What are we talking about? And who should get it, right? And that's real, and I think that's incredibly important as well. Pathway, there was a big fight in there to me about unions, and unions were walking out because there's a whole struggle even today about unions and their inclusion of Black and brown people in those unions. And I think the trade unions and our ability to get engaged in helping build the communities that we actually live in is very, very important. And we need to sit down with these trade unionists and figure out how to make sure that young Black and brown boys in these communities have immediate, quick, and deliberate access into these unions to help build their communities. That absolutely positively needs to happen right away, because these are good paying jobs. The building is not going anywhere. We need more. In fact, there's a gap, a hole in construction trades. There's, they need to hire more people. Mm-hmm. And so we have a lot of people that are available to be hired, that's for sure. So I think that's incredibly important for us. I also would add DC statehood is important too. And I would add that, because it gives us more representation. Prayerfully, it allows us on another senator, right? 2 more senators. It allows us an opportunity to have more influence nationally and what's going on in Congress. And we desperately need that now more than ever before. But ultimately, I think that all of us, we need a real convention like that again, like across these states. We need a convention that brings us all together, where we brainstorm these issues in a very real way to talk about a pathway forward, because a lot of people are doing their own thing. And it's time for us to do something collective.
Well, hopefully you'll come on June 19th through the 21st. We're going to do that with State of the People. I talked to Larry Ham yesterday, so we hope that you'll be able to come, and hopefully, Mr. Mayor, with good news on the other side of an election. Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you, Governor, for joining us. I'm predicting good news. So thank you, Governor, for being here. And I just want to take a quick note to our viewers that even if you don't live in New Jersey, in this environment we're in, governors are on the front lines to push back against this administration. And so I don't live in New Jersey, but I'm deeply invested in your race. And we all need to be deeply invested in these races as a people. So thank you. And I'm sure the Alphas will appreciate that shout out you gave them.
Good luck, Mayor, soon to be governor.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Got it. Thank you.
And with this case.
Jesus. Yes.
How do you trying to catch an election, you catch a case? Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
But I love that he's exhibiting the kind of courage that any of us should want in a governor, right? I mean, he didn't point it out for himself, but at the time that he was arrested, the mayor had already been there days before doing the same thing day after day, bringing attention to this illegally operating facility in his city. So when no cameras were there, when the threat of arrest seemed much less real than it actually became, he was standing in the gap. And I think that's the kind of leadership you want. And I think, ladies, beautifully, I loved that he really cinched his argument in one of economics. Mm-hmm. We drove him in other directions to talk about things that we wanted to hear his voice on the record on. But he was talking tax breaks, tax incentives, home ownership, wealth building strategies, ensuring that, startup equity is available to all people across races and genders. I think that's a powerful, salient message, one that the party nationally needs to get with. But I really love home base for him, which sounds like helping people get the resources they need to provide for themselves and their family and beyond.
Well,
I want to just tell y'all. So I went to Fox News. I know. But I wanted to look on here because they have an article about Mayor Ras's speech, and it says, Newark mayor compares self to biblical hero in wake of ICE protest arrest. This is our David moment. These jackasses call this thing a political rally and completely misrepresent, no surprises there, what his point was. He was saying that this is our collective David moment, and if all we have is a few smooth stones and a slingshot, we could take it on. Now, if people don't understand how the United States government functions as a Goliath in the face of every David, whether you're David because you're hungry, or you're David because you're incarcerated, or you're David because you're an immigrant and you're not protected, or you're the child of one and you're a dreamer. You're David because you don't know if you're going to be able to read the books you need to actually learn in your classroom. You might be David because it's like the woman I talked about who's a school teacher but sleeps in her car. There are a gazillion Davids in this country, and we should not be trivializing that.
Thankfully, the people.
Fox ain't got no
I was
relationship
going to
with the
say
truth.
their audience is 94% white. They're mostly conservative people, so they're, I don't know. You can never. I don't look for reason there, and I don't think a majority of sensible people are looking at their website or consuming their news every single time.
I don't know who, but
it could
they
be a
kill it on numbers, and so
because the country is majority white. So 94% of their
that's
audience
fine.
are
And
majority.
so I'm hoping if one of them Davids happen to click on us over here, Davids, I hope that they hear the rationale and what was actually said. There are also entities that are Black owned that do this same kind of thing. And so in case they thought they was going to run this same point, that's why I'm bringing it up, because it's clickbait. In case you were going to run the same point, at least run the clip back before you hit your clickbait. That's all I'm asking.
That's something I think that might be a good mini pod if y'all want to do it. Because what you just said, Angela, about Black outlets picking up conservative talking points, which they do from Fox, because I have seen
too
that.
much.
Yes. And for me personally, like even when you were saying that, I'm like, I don't care what white people read and what they think about. Like, I just don't have the energy. Should we care? Should we be talking to white folks? Do y'all want to talk about that on mini pod or no?
You care
we can
about
save
your
it for
safety?
later.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about it because I see we feeling
We'll
froggy
talk
and leaping.
about
Let's
that.
go.
We'll talk about that on mini pod. But now, so y'all be sure
Also,
to tune
I'm mad
in.
that they called it a political rally. I'm mad as hell about that. That is not what this was.
Well, luckily, we don't
They
share too
wouldn't know
many
the difference.
audience members with them. But
You
now
don't know?
it is time for calls to action. Calls to action. And I want to know what everybody's calls to action is. Y'all want me to go first? Y'all ready? Who got one?
Go on with it, host.
Oh my
Sis.
God! I thought she was about to say, "Go on with it."
Go on with it, hoes. How dare you intro?
Go on with it, ho. I was like, Andrew,
Production
you
break.
feeling
Production
way
break.
too comfortable.
Production
It
break.
ain't no production break. We leaving
If
that
we
right
get
now
we
in
can get
there.
a production
No
break.
said. Go on with it, ho.
Where is
What?
the color purple? When you
That's what this
production
podcast
break.
should be
Go
called.
with
Go
your
on
call
with
to
it,
action,
ho.
ho.
That would actually be a good song. Go on with
For the
it,
record,
ho.
I said.
Go on
you
with
see
it, ho.
So the
Go
counter
on with
Fox
it,
is false
Go on with it,
narrative.
ho.
To counter the Fox narrative here.
No,
I
that
said
actually
host.
should be to Fox. We should call
Yes.
Fox that. Go on with it, ho. Good. Go on with it, ho. Good. That sounds like it could be a
That's
big
about-
glow song, I feel
That's
like.
about to be.
Delete.
Don't
It's a
steal
bop.
our idea. If y'all make that song, y'all better give
but
us
you got
credit.
it. What's your mumble rap gonna be, Tiff? What's your mumble rap gonna sound like?
I got to work on it. I'm not a good freestyler. I
Well,
gotta
it's a
think
mumble
about
rap,
it.
so you ain't got to think too hard. It's gonna be like.
When it,
Sometimes
and
they
I'm
tell
in
us
a
to
room.
go.
In a minute,
Sometimes
in a
they
minute,
tell
in a
us to
minute,
pimp.
and I'm in a
We're
room.
trying to make that money for the rent.
That's a real song, Andrew.
What did he say?
And make that money for the rent.
Hey, they got an Oscar.
There's something wrong with us. I blame it on the New York traffic today. I
Get
just
that bread, get that info, then leave. Andrew, don't try to
Do.
make
Are we
like
still
that's
rapping?
See, I'm
I don't
talking
know
too
what
much. It's a
happened. Are we
ratchet
still
song.
rapping?
Listen to this
Angela know
song
that
one time
song,
in
but
my
Angela,
car.
no, I'm
I
hooked
know
on
this
it.
song.
No, she don't.
Yeah, but
I don't know
Angela was
this
in the
song.
car when we were listening.
Go on
Anyway,
with it, ho.
She was.
Mm,
She
go
was.
on
She was
with it, ho.
definitely checking messages
Yes.
or something because we
Go
was
on
fine
with
riding
it,
out.
enough.
ho.
Well, since Andrew said go on with it, ho, I'm about to go on my call to action. I'll be quick.
He was not talking to you. You should make him go after that.
No. This is my call to action.
is so
Aside from
tragic.
y'all still not using your headphones when you're in public, that drives me crazy. I don't want to hear a conversation. But this is the real call to action. For every single time that you say, that's not my problem, I'm minding my business. When you say, well, they voted for him, so shoulder shrug. I would just ask, please don't consume the spoon-fed media narrative that is a lie. Every community of color voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. You can take a look and disaggregate the data for yourself. Just try to have, I want to encourage people, try to have some curiosity and not just take things that are being fed to us, because that is with intention. They can sit back and laugh while all the black and brown folks are fighting with each other, and they are depending on apathy to keep, if you're waiting for some imaginary line for this fight to come to your door, that line has been crossed. And this fight has to be all of ours. At 14% of the population, we can't win it on our own. So I would just ask us to reach deep into our humanity and get into this fight. That's my CTA.
That's real.
I love it.
That's real.
Who next?
Hey, Rod.
Okay, I will go. Mine is more of a testimony, and it's a testament to the show. And had I thought better about it, I probably would have ran the clip back. But we had a young man named Jai who sent in a question about how to get involved after feeling hopeless in this moment. And when I tell y'all, Jai ran so much of the Newark State of the People Power Tour event. He was the rally stage lead. He was tremendous. And he turned around on that stage yesterday and said, Angela, this is because you told me to get involved. And I am like, this is how it's done. Like, one mind at a time. And that one mind being changed touched hundreds of lives yesterday in Newark. So Jai, I'm shouting you out, and all of the Jais that have felt that but didn't send in your question, we still will receive your questions. I just want you all to know we see you, we thank God for you, and it takes young people like you to really make the difference.
Here, here.
Love that.
Jai was like, put me in, coach.
He
Yes.
he didn't even wait to be put in. He was just like, I'm drafted. What's good? I'm going. Let's go. He
I
showed
love
up.
it.
Yeah.
Well, mine are
Yeah,
very,
Andrew,
very
go on with it, ho.
specific to personal. Oh, now you said, ho, I heard you.
Well, that's what we thought you said.
I heard
Go
that.
on with it,
I
host.
heard that, host.
Did you hear that? Go on with it, host.
Host.
Go
Somebody
on with
say
it,
ho.
host.
The T, the S and the T silent. Well, bitch, that's a whole new word, ho. Excuse me for the listeners. I'm so sorry. That was
We
out of
have a
order.
problem.
Production break.
No,
break.
no production.
We got to get to this
all
mini
in
pod.
now.
We got to go. So go.
All right, this is my hey, if you see any of my people, tell them happy birthday. Between now and then, my wife Jay celebrated her birthday. My son Davis's birthday is today, as he celebrates with a broken arm. And on Monday, this upcoming Monday, my twins will turn 11. Happy birthday.
Oh,
Happy
happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
the
the Gillums. Amazing.
And happy belated Mother's Day.
And yeah.
And happy belated Mother's Day.
As always, we want to remind you guys, please, please, please leave us a review and subscribe to Native Land Pod. We're on all the platforms and YouTube. New episodes drop every Thursday and Friday. But also don't forget about our solo pods on Monday and Tuesday. And if you want to check out more, please tune in to our girl Jamel Hill on Politics. And there's even another show, Off the Cup. Those are the other shows on Reason Choice Media Network. And of course, don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to all of our text or email lists on our website. You can check that out at nativelandpod.com. We are your hosts, Tiffany Cross, Angela Rye, and Andrew Gillum. Welcome home, y'all. There are 537 days until midterm elections, assuming we will still have them.
Thank you for joining the natives. Intentional with the info on all of the latest. Rod Gillum and Cross connected to the statements that you leave on our socials. Thank you sincerely for the patience. Reason for your choice is clear. We're so grateful. Took the oath to execute roles. Yeah, faithful. Preserve, defend, and protect the truth, even if painful. Welcome home to all of the natives. We thank you.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.